Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of From the Director's Chair. My name is JJ Duke. Alongside me is the Director of Athletics here at Fairfield, Paul Schlickman. It's been a little while since we've been with you guys here on the Stag Sports Network. We'll get to that in a little bit, but we're starting the second semester here, the spring semester. Quick touch on the academic side of things. Yet again, as we always say, it's a very good time to be a Stag in terms of student athletes in the classroom, and the fall semester was outstanding.
Sure, very proud of that. I probably sound like a broken record when I say I continue to be extraordinarily impressed with the academic performance of our athletes. 3.29 GPA across the board, 77% of our athletes at a 3.0 or better, and 189 on the Dean's List. It's extraordinary, their performance. We're celebrating that coming up next Monday with our Dean's List dinner, and it's always a great time to get together and celebrate that. So really proud of them, and kudos to what they do on a daily basis and all the support they get from our staff internally and certainly from our faculty.
The opportunities, especially with the new academic learning center, chances for them to kind of get down to the books, especially finals time of year. But yeah, the great fall semester, and hopefully the spring is going to be the same thing.
We hope so. I certainly expect it to be. It is nice, now that you mentioned the academic center, it's nice to walk by that continually on a daily basis and just see how populated it is. And so it's getting a lot of use, which is what we hope for, and hopefully it's contributing to their success.
So now we turn to the hardwood, as we are right in the thick of the basketball season and the conference season as well. And we mentioned in previous episodes how more games are going to be on campus here at Alumni Hall, and boy, has the crowds been turning in. We had the Kids Day Out game in mid-January. Over 2,000 were in attendance for that women's basketball game against St. Peter's, and then a sellout bumper crowd of 2,479 against Iona, and for the men, and a victory as well. So these are things, when you see a packed out gym, that's got to make you very happy.
It makes me very happy, and on a number of fronts. It was a pointed strategic move on the men's side in particular, as you know, to bring a lot more games back on campus. We're trying to answer the call and listen to our constituents who had a very strong desire to have us do that. I think it's been good for them, and you can see we've touched on the pockets of our community that we really want to draw to those games, namely students, faculty, staff, families with young children in the community, alums not only in the town of Fairfield but from the greater Fairfield County, and we've succeeded in drawing them all to those games. It's great to see it happen on both the men's and the women's side. Certainly we want to have success with that. Obviously a home court advantage creates a home court advantage for our teams. The players love it, and we've had some success doing it. So I think we're scratching the surface, but we're recreating and re-engaging the right groups and recreating that habit and that desire to go to games on campus here. So it's a lot of fun to see, and credit our marketing staff and our team who really hustle and have done a phenomenal job in going out and engaging those folks in the right way to get them to come to campus.
And it definitely helps as well in talking with opposing teams as well, and the radio crew that come in, they also enjoy it. So not only the fact that you have a great atmosphere internally, but right. Teams, they're looking forward to coming and playing in front of a big crowd. And let's face it, if you're a student athlete, you want to play in front of big and loud crowds.
No, you're 100% right. And the feedback from virtually everybody who's been a part of those games has been incredibly positive, even to the point where, not that anybody's necessarily looking at this, but an official came up to me and said, "Wow, this is great that you're doing this back in Alumni Hall. This is terrific. We love working games here." So it's really every walk of what we're trying to do, and it's fun to see.
And now obviously the crowds need to be coming out as we get closer and closer of MAC tournament play, because a couple weeks left in the season, teams are still jockeying for position, trying to find the best path to get back to both the respective men's and women's championship games.
Sure, these are the dog days of college basketball, when you're halfway through your league season and virtually almost exactly through the first half of a round robin format. I would say, quite frankly, and with all transparency, we're not where we thought we'd be. We're not where we'd like to be. I think the coaches and players of both teams would say that, but that doesn't mean they're not playing very hard. They continue to coach hard, play hard, and I hope we can continue to support them in obviously the most enthusiastic way possible to get them to finish strong and hopefully have a good performance in the tournament. And that's my job. That's what we're trying to do every day.
Well, definitely, it's going to be something to keep an eye on as we get closer and closer. The MAC tournament, which will be again in Albany, and another tournament that's going to be coming up soon in the MAC. But we're going to be going into the pool, and very exciting times for Fairfield swimming. We look at how things are going right now. The women are defending champions in the MAC. The men are definitely making the strides in the right direction. They travel up to Buffalo, New York, in a couple of weeks. The championship meet starts on February the 13th, and the optimistic look about this group is very good.
Very good. All indicators point to them continuing to progress. Coach Bruno's doing a fantastic job. Those athletes are so committed in terms of the hours they spend in the pool, and oftentimes, they're kind of doing it in anonymity on the morning and afternoon double sessions every day, and doing a great job. Every time they jump in the pool, there's umpteen pool records on both sides. So I feel very confident that the women will certainly compete for that title again, and I think I'm looking forward to seeing a strong uptick on the men's side as well. So great men and women in those programs who are really competing hard and just getting better every day. It's really fun to see.
Absolutely. Well, make sure to stay tuned at fairfieldstags.com as we get closer and closer to the championship meet. We'll keep you updated on how things are going. Now, it's funny because we are in February. It is still technically winter. However, lacrosse season is now upon us. A lot of good things going to be coming this season here at Fairfield, men's and women's lacrosse. Obviously, the women's team defending MAC champions. The men's side, they're looking to climb the ladder, get back into the CAA tournament. 18 home games on the schedule. It's going to be busy here at Rafferty Stadium.
It's going to be busy. It's been busy already in the first couple of weeks of coming back from the break. We're sitting here looking out at our stadium right now, and we see both lacrosse teams out there every day. And we've gotten a little tease weather-wise yesterday and today, feeling like spring. So it's hard to ignore that it's here, even though we're in the midst of the home stretch of our winter seasons. But very excited about both seasons coming up. Tremendous home schedule, in the aggregate, with 18 home games and some really highly regarded teams from some great schools coming into Rafferty to play. So we're really excited about that. Certainly looking forward to watching our teams play. The nice thing is, even with the home broadcast, we've got a great lineup of broadcasts, as you alluded to. So all kinds of opportunities to see our teams play and serve all the lacrosse fans that are in this area and beyond. So it's fun. It's exciting to come up, and it comes up fast.
Yeah, that it does. It's going to be starting just in a couple of days. In fact, February 13th, the women are going to be home against UConn. The men will open up their season just a few days after on Saturday the 16th against St. Joe's. And as Paul said, almost all games will be shown on Fairfield platforms, the Fairfield Athletics Facebook page. A couple of games on the men's side will be on the Lac Sports Network, and a couple of women's games will be on the ESPN platforms as well. And also a new addition to the Stag Sports Network. We've gone a bit digital, went into the podcast game. Obviously, Open Court with Sydney Johnson. Now we have the Inside Fairfield Lacrosse podcast with both Andy Copeland and Laura Field. And if you haven't already, go ahead and download and listen to those episodes. The information is on fairfieldstags.com. And have you had a chance to kind of listen in?
I have.
Your thoughts?
I've really enjoyed them. I think it's our external team is doing an incredible job, I think, on the social media front and all the different things we're doing and trying to promote our program and promote our coaches and promote our student athletes and get our name out there. And it's in line with how we're thinking institutionally and how we're thinking athletically to try and, take our programs from here to here in every aspect of what we do. And so I applaud them because I think we're doing as good, if better, a job than anybody in that regard. So really excited to see that. And it's good to see particularly our athletes. I enjoy those quite a bit. They're so impressive in terms of how they present themselves and their thought process and how mature they are. So it's a great opportunity to give them exposure and show our fans and our constituents and our alumni just the high caliber of student athletes we have. So it's a lot of fun to watch.
Well, make sure you go listen in, go on SoundCloud and iTunes, as well as fairfieldstags.com. Now, we talked about lacrosse season, obviously, with the spring. All the other spring sports are getting themselves going. Tennis has already begun. You also had a chance to travel down with the golf team down to the Sunshine State. And tell us a little bit about that trip.
Well, it was an incredible trip. A 4 or 5 day swing for the members of our men's and women's golf team, and first and foremost, an amazing experience for them, put together by an extraordinary group of our alumni who resourced the trip. They were able to play on arguably 4 of the nicest courses, most desirable courses in America, literally, down in the Palm Beach area. The Bears Club, Medalist, Lost Tree, and MacArthur. I mean, just unbelievable courses. It's PGA Central down there, and an amazing experience for them, not only from a golf perspective, but also as important, if not more important, the opportunity to interact with some incredibly generous and gracious and highly loyal stags who just, in the spirit of wanting to give back and pay it forward, have done some amazing things for this institution and for athletics, and in this particular case for our golf program. So indebted to them for providing an unforgettable experience for athletes. And that's a microcosm, I think, of how our alumni are responding to all our programs to try and help them and help us progress. So it's really fun to see, and we're incredibly grateful for it. And it falls in line with us, our philosophy and our goal is to try and provide a championship caliber experience for every student athlete in all aspects of what they do, and this is right in that wheelhouse.
Well, you talk about progression and adding and enhancing for the student athletes. Baseball and softball, they're going to be welcoming a new facility. There's going to be an indoor hitting, pitching facility that's going to be coming up very soon, and actually it's starting to be constructed on right now.
No question, and another example of that is again trying to progress and provide the resources and the infrastructure for us to be, a premier program in our conference and beyond. And so we've broken ground on that hitting facility that's going to serve our baseball and our softball programs. It's going to free up some space indoors, which in turn, helps other programs and just providing that developmental base for everybody in the time they need to succeed. So it's really fun to see that, well deserved, and by those two programs, and again, just to take us to that next level. So there's some cooking every day, but it's great to see progress. We like that. We got our foot on the gas in a lot of ways, and so it's fun to see some of those things break ground and come to fruition.
Well, not only progress on the athletics side of things, there's also some big news that came in on the university side of things. Tell us a little bit more about some of the steps being made on the full campus side of things.
Well, I'm so excited and energized by everything I see on campus, and I've been fortunate. You mentioned the Florida trip, and a couple weeks prior to that, I was out in California for a couple of alumni events. And so, generally speaking, I'm inspired and energized by the buzz that I sense from our alumni constituents, all those associated with Fairfield, just about our trajectory, about the wonderful things we have going on campus, about our increased rankings, about the caliber of our current class and the caliber of our incoming class based on the data that we see from the midpoint of the year. And so our trajectory is phenomenal. We've got an incredible vision from President Nemec and his leadership team, and that's getting better every day. They just announced today we hired a new director of campus ministry, Father Paul Rourke from Georgetown, and so that's exciting, and that's one indicator of this stance that we are steadfast about adhering to our core principles and values, but also kind of creating this, going towards a sense of modern excellence in everything we do. Another example, and we're talking about trying to enhance our national brand and our scope. And so Dr. Nemec and Dean Lee from the Dolan School of Business, they're heading off to China to try and recruit young men and women internationally at the undergrad level and the grad level. So many good things happening we're excited about. And all those things are good for Fairfield, but in turn, good for us by virtue of that. So.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely something.
You go on and on about all the great things happening, but it's fun to see.
Yeah, definitely something that we'll be keeping in touch on as we go forward. And now we come to our final segments, the Ask Paul segment, an opportunity for you, Stag fans at home, to ask the gentleman to my right a couple of questions, try to get some insight on things going here at Fairfield Athletics. All you have to do is go to fairfieldstags.com/askpaul to send in your questions. Got a couple here for you. First, we kind of already touched on a little bit. We haven't had an episode in nearly 2 months, right. But we're, it's not, fun and games all the time. It's a lot of business and a lot of trips that are going, as you've mentioned already, taking a couple trips, cross country, but you've also been attending a number of conferences and conventions in the past few weeks.
Yeah, it's nice to be in the thick of that. I'm fortunate to be on the NCAA Council, which is the primary governing body for intercollegiate athletics in our current governance structure, and I was fortunate to be named to that through the MAC about 6 months ago. And as part of that, I have a sub-council assignment on the Men's Basketball Oversight Committee. I think we may have talked about being in the thick of the aftermath of the Rice Commission report and their recommendations, during the summer. So there's been a lot of work associated with that, and that, the nature of college athletics is ever evolving. But it's important, I think, for us institutionally, and important for the MAC to be engaged in that at a high level. because there's so many changes going on within the Division I governance structure and where we're headed philosophically and resource-wise, that it's important for us to have a voice. And so trying to do my best in that regard. And so it's been a busy time with that as well, but it's very important that we're in the mix of it.
Absolutely. So how often have you been able to sleep in your bed during all this?
It's been a busy, since post-Thanksgiving, been a pretty busy stretch with some alumni trips and committee trips and some others, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And we're doing okay.
Absolutely. Being busy is better than being not. That's what I always say. Now, the other question that we have, and some people have noticed during the basketball season that a couple of games, unlike in past years, are not being aired on the Fairfield campus radio station WVOF. You're questioning, where's the standing on that? But it's not like we're going away from it. It's just there are plenty of other platforms that you could watch Fairfield men's and women's basketball.
Sure. Heading into the season, we sat down and we talked about it as we're assessing all aspects of our operation to try and assess how best to promote our programs. At the core, that's what it's all about. So I think we're doing a fantastic job, not only because we want to, but because there's some MAC requirements for us to have everything broadcasted. So we have 23 games on ESPN3 or ESPN Plus. Between our men's and women's basketball programs. So, and I think credit our external team and our broadcast team. I think our quality is fantastic. So that was a high priority for us. In addition, there's reality to the fact of the choices that people have, viewers, people who want to pay attention to our basketball programs or any programs in the MAC or beyond. There's so many options to view. So we made a decision to but to do less games on the road based in part on the data we see in terms of our viewership, our listening clientele, if you will, but focus more on some of these podcasts and these student athlete vignettes. And we thought that would be a better way over the course of a season to promote our programs and what we're trying to do and what they're all about. So just a strategic decision that I think is paying some dividends in terms of the feedback we're getting. So
as Paul mentioned, the Open Court podcast with Sydney Johnson,
right.
Not basketball but lacrosse related, you can go to the Inside Fairfield Lacrosse podcast. So that's going to do it for this segment of Ask Paul. Again, if you want to send your questions for a future show, fairfieldstags.com/Ask Paul. And that's going to do it for this episode of From the Director's Chair for Paul and myself. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, go Stags.